But basically, Kevin, you're Canadian, but can you tell me more about your organization, Gmat classes in Madrid? What do you do, etc.?
All right. Well, I've been here in Spain, in Madrid, for 27 years, and about 12 years ago, I started Gmat classes. I used to work for Kaplan here in Madrid, but I started out on my own. And we have about 250 students a year preparing for the Gmat. Vast majority of our students are from Madrid, but we do get some from France or from Italy that are studying at a nearby university, and from South America as well. And yeah, about 250 students a year preparing for the Gmat.
Okay. So basically, Kevin is a bit humble. He's the best Gmat teacher in Europe. So he scored 796 times. So he's a champion, a Gmat champion. And his test prep program is probably the largest, so the Gmat is probably the largest in Europe. Now, it's true that we work closely together because I visit him once a month. And it's true that a lot of his students apply for Spanish schools, basically IAC, IE, and ESADE. Okay? Alors, basically, Kevin, so you studied in Canada yourself?
That's right.
Yeah.
I went to Western.
Okay, so you went to Western. I will make a presentation later on of the Canadian programs. But tell me, how do you think Canadian education is perceived outside Canada? Because I imagine that being Canadian, a lot of students ask you about Canadian education. How do you think it is perceived, you as a Canadian, who has been abroad for a quarter of a century now, and more than that, because you spend your youth in Germany. So how is it perceived, according to you, outside Canada?
I can only speak about the Spanish perception because I haven't lived in a lot of countries as an adult, and I suppose it really depends on what country you happen to be in. There's not a lot of links between Canada and Spain in terms of education or immigration, so Spaniards really don't think too much about Canada or Canadian education. They have a vague, good impression. No famous universities, so to speak, but I would say they have a good impression, vague impression that's good. That's about it.
Okay. Yes, because it's true that you don't have the same. It's not the same as French, for instance. For instance, Anna speaks French.
Right.
And of course, for the French, it's a big thing. So can you tell me, you studied, so you did the bachelor in Canada. What
Right.
was your experience when you did your bachelor? Tell me, what has been your experience in teaching, internship, exposure to work, exposure to social activities? What has it been?
Oh, my experience was very good. I went to Western on a scholarship. I studied actuarial science and economics, and I did internships as an actuary in Toronto at Canada Life. I did that for 3 summers. And when I finished, I tutored mathematics at the university, and eventually I said, I want to learn Spanish, so I went to Spain. I'm still here.
Okay, you studied after all this time.
Right.
And according to you, how do people differentiate Canadian from US education? Because of course, it's not easy as being Canadian to differentiate yourself. What distinction do they make between Canadian and US education, according to you?
Here in Spain, probably not a lot. I think they perceive that Canada is more liberal, safer, colder, but it's pretty much the same lifestyle as the States.
Yeah, that's probably so.
They're more liberal and more multicultural.
Multicultural, and of course, yeah, and yes, probably more protection from the States.
Right.
So tell me, do you have students interested in your center in McGill, York, Concordia?
Very few.
Very few.
I would say maybe 5 per year.
5 per year. It's already something. Huh? Yes. So basically, you, Kevin, you have lived, of course, in Canada quite a lot. Which state would you recommend to a European? Imagine that I'm French, I want to move to Canada. What would be the best place for according to you, where will accommodate the best, according to you?
Well, which province? Well, if you're French, perhaps a logical choice would be to go to Quebec, because Quebec is really bilingual, so you'll get the English and the French. But if you're from other countries, I think every province has its charms, except for maybe Saskatchewan. I mean, British Columbia's got beautiful scenery. Alberta used to have a booming economy, and it's close to the Rocky Mountains. Manitoba's friendly. The Atlantic Canada is very friendly, very personal, and Ontario, well, that's arguably the center of Canada in terms of business.
Yeah. Okay, so that's yes.
So depending on what that person wanted, I could say this would be a good province for you, or this other one would be good.
Okay. So tell me. So now you're a Gmat expert. We interviewed Anna already. We had the opportunity to see, of course, to check the website of McGill and of York. A lot of our students are going to, those who want to apply for Canadian programs and others, they're going to take the Gmat in 2 to 3 weeks to be ready for round 2. So any tips for our students who take the Gmat in 2 to 3 weeks, Kevin?
In 2 to 3 weeks. Well, if they're going to take the exam in 2 to 3 weeks, they've probably done a lot of preparation already with the official guide or with the 2 supplements, or perhaps they've done a course already. I would say that to make full use of the official practice exams, there are 6 of them, 2 that are for free, and 4 others that you can purchase from MBA.com. It's really important to go through those practice exams question by question and make sure that you can do all those questions, fantastically, efficiently, explore the different ways of doing the math questions, the quantitative questions, and making sure you understand exactly why all the verbal answers are right or wrong.
Okay. So any last thing so you see you have students who came here, they are MBA Center students, so they come from India, mainly, some from Europe, a few from Latin America. What pieces of advice would you give them so if they want to study in Canada? The ultimate pieces of advice.
Well, I would look for programs in which it might be a more sort of authentic Canadian experience, perhaps going to schools that are not so well known, maybe not necessarily Western or the University of Toronto, so that you get more of a cultural experience, and look for schools that have good placement programs.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Kevin, for being here. Okay.
All right.
So you have the most Spaniard Canadian, Kevin. Okay. So
right.
And it's interesting because it's true that in France you have a lot of Canadians because of the cultural links between the two, but there are fewer outside France. It's interesting to have one. And by
Sure.
the way,
I mean, there's never been a wave of immigration from Spain to Canada.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in Canada, you have a lot of Greek Canadians or Italian Canadians, Polish Canadians, Ukrainians, you name it, but not a lot of Spaniards.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's
more Portuguese than Spaniards.
Yeah. And of course, a lot go there as well because they have the, how can I say, because they have the, yes, because when you're from Spain, you already have the Spanish community in the US, it makes more sense. Huh? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kevin, for being with us. And I'm going to make my presentation, okay, before we talk to the other schools. So, of course, it's very nice to have Kevin here, and to see, and maybe Kevin, now you can try to promote Canada even more because there's a real need.
Sure, and for the rest of you, if you ever want to do any outreach to meet a lot of Spanish students, you let me know.
Of course, and of course, they will get your contact information anyway. So, do you see my screen? You all see my screen? Kevin, you see my screen?
No, I don't. I just see me, but now I'm going to try to see. I see nothing. I see H for Hubert, but nothing else.
You don't see my screen? I was asking to the others.
I can see the
Now
screen.
I can see it now.
Not anymore.
Yeah, okay. So you could see. Okay, so I'm going to do like this. Okay, so basically we made a presentation. I'm going to open it very fast. So Kevin, you can stay if you want, so that at least you know, and I will send you the presentation so that when you have students. So basically, so today is the last webinar of the Uni School World Series. So we started like five weeks ago, and we decided to. The first webinar was on US MBA, and we decided to make a specific webinar on Canadian MBAs because we know that there is demand for Canada. Now, what you have to see, Anna, you have to understand that I'm going to give you the perception of a European, okay? How we see of a European working a lot with Latin America and with India. So it's not a global perception, but at least it's some type of idea. So basically, you have to see that the Canadian MBAs were created pretty late. So they were created after the Second World War, okay? And the first one to be created was the one of the University of Western Ontario in 1948, okay? So basically, it was like any other MBA that you have in the US, because at that time, the most prevalent model was the model, the US model. So it was a 2-year program, 1 year very general management base. The second year, it was more practical, okay? And then little by little, the program have developed. And of course, Canada being somehow taking the best of the two worlds, some programs have kept the American format and others have evolved towards the European format. Alors, the specificity of the Canadian MBAs, I would say that the program length, it's not 2 years like in the US, it can be a bit shorter. They can be, the price varies a lot, between $16,000 to $80,000. Cost of living, maybe except in Toronto or in Montreal, is quite, and maybe in Vancouver, it's quite affordable. Okay, less scholarship than in the US. We'll explain why. Okay, now what people can expect a lot from Canadian MBAs, they can expect that, of course, the programs are probably more international than in the US. That the return on investment, the ROI, will be greater. Okay, and then of course, Canada is a country of immigration, so they can stay. And when we had an interview with Anna, she explained to us that normally in Canada, you have a visa to stay normally as long as you studied, plus they have usually 6 months to 1 year, which allows you to stay 2 to 3 years in Canada, okay? Which is unique. You have to understand that the most generous country in Europe is the UK. You have 2 years. Germany, Netherlands, 18 months. Normally it's more like 1 year. So it's, of course, it's very generous. So it shows that Canada wants to attract qualified people from all over the world. Okay. Basically, when we have a look at rankings, okay, we consider the Financial Times or the QS, that are the two rankings that somehow count in this business. So we see the names that come over and over, and of course we see the names of our partners, who came today, like McGill, like York, like Concordia. So they are all top 10. Basically, that's where they stand. So you have 3 Canadian programs in the top 100 programs, and basically that's where they stand, because as you know, QS goes much further than that. That's basically where they stand. Is it something with which you're familiar, Kevin, for instance, this ranking? Okay, so that's what we have. Basically, admissions, it's the same as everywhere. The admission process at Concordia is the same as the LBS admission process. You need to have a bachelor, at least 2 years of work experience, and you need to complete an application, and you have to take language and reasoning test. And you have an interview. So basically, it's pretty well standardized. Now, basically, to introduce our speakers, So we say, to sum up before we go to the presentation, so Anna will make a presentation, and McGill and York as well. So basically, I would say that the perception that we have outside Canada is that people understand that Canada is probably a more liberal and more peaceful country than the US, okay, with probably an easier access to citizenship, okay. Schools are less expensive, and the country offers a lot of opportunities, okay. So that's basically the perception that our students have from Canada, okay. So the people that we have today, so we have Anna. So Anna is the director of admission at the Concordia University. Okay, she managed the
Hi everyone.
She managed the admission there, and Anna is an Asian Canadian. Can we say something like that? Huh? As we say, so she's an Asian Canadian. Her French is perfect. And you live in France? No, Anna, you have always lived in Canada. Yeah. Hello.
I live in Canada, but my parents are from France, so I have an unfair advantage.
Okay, but you live in Canada, and you have a typical French name. Brochet is the name of a fish, as you know, that you find in river. It's an excellent fish, by the way. Then we have Jessica Morgan. She's from York University, Schulich School of Business. So you work for the admission. You yourself graduate from York, and you have an MBA, by the way, from Ted Rogers School of Management. Okay, so you have studied in the US. Then we have Corey O'Hara. Okay, so you work for McGill. You have a bachelor from Concordia, and you did the Master of Science at HEC Montreal, which is, of course, so you will have a master level education, which is impressive. So then there is Kevin Armstrong that you have just met. So Kevin is the best Gmat coach in Europe, which is we have about 1,000, so the best of the 1,000, and he's an expert in mathematics and economics, and he speaks fluently several languages. And myself, so me, what I say, as coordinator on the Gmat, and my job is to train professors, is to train what we call agrégés. So let's go back to the thing, to our thing. Basically, maybe we want to start. So maybe can we start with McGill, with the McGill representative? Hello, he's not there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So basically, have you prepared the presentation? Hello.
Yes, I have a PDF.
Yeah. So if you can prepare a presentation. So the idea would be, and people are asking questions. Basically, I'm not the one who runs the program. So I have a partner. I have a colleague who is, her name is Karishma, but she's very sick, and usually she's very hard worker. So if she cannot attend, she must be very, very sick. So she has a flu, whatever, and she asked me to cover. Usually I'm one of the moderators, but she's the one running the show, and she runs the YouTube channel. Okay. So basically, Corey, let's go. So if you can give a presentation, thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Shabbat. So good morning, everyone. My name is Corey. I'm with McGill University, and we're here to talk today about our MBA program. Of course, when it comes to McGill University, we're kind of like doing a couple quick facts about our university. So of course, it's one of the oldest universities in Canada, has a great reputation around the world. Located in the heart of downtown Montreal, it benefits from being quite close to the business district. It's also quite a large university with over 40,000 students from about 160 different companies. As Hubert was saying earlier, our faculty, Desautels, ranks among the top in the world. And of course, when you become part of McGill, you also benefit from a large alumni network. Chances are, wherever you are around the world, you will end up meeting a McGill or even a Desautels alumni. Of course, when you become part of McGill, we also hope that you will enjoy the city, our city, which is Montreal. So not only do you benefit from being part of the McGill community, you also have the opportunity to join Montreal as a city in terms of cultural events and other activities. It always is great, even in the middle of winter when there's a lot of snow. We always try to have a lot of activities going on, and there's always something for you to do. Understandably, you're not only going to come here for our great nightlife and our great city life, you're coming here for our MBA program, which we recently redesigned to incorporate more elements of sustainability. So for us, we wanted to integrate sustainability beyond a simple class or two and really have it as part of every core class you are able to participate in. So of course, when it comes to our program, it's focused on three key pillars. The first one is, of course, integrated learning. So where we use cross-disciplinary experiential learning approaches. So not only teaching you the theory of business, but allowing you to get hands-on and really learn about the different components. Of course, when you pursue an MBA program, it's a step in your professional evolution. It allows you to, for example, reorient your career, access a new job level, or simply go into a new field and access another higher level position. Of course, in terms of leadership, we are trying to create the leaders of tomorrow, and we think that the leaders of tomorrow are going to be empathetic leaders. So we allow for that to foster in our classroom environments and also through our student learning activities outside of the classroom. In terms of our program, we do have a couple different options. Of course, I know this slide is a little heavy, so I will break it down a little bit. So we have two different options. The first one is that you are able to do an accelerated version of our program. So we have a 12-month version of our program where you simply do your classes and you're done your degree. This is great if you're looking to stay within the same organization and within the same field, of course, or you're looking to return to your home country and you don't really need that Canadian work experience or an internship. Of course, if you're looking to gain new experience in an area or simply access the Canadian job market, we usually recommend the 2-year format. So you have the choice of doing a 16-month program or a 20-month program. In general, our most common one is the 16-month one, where students, of course, do their classes, and then you can also do an internship. So you have 4 months of full-time employment where you're able to integrate into the Canadian job market and potentially orient yourself towards a new career. Hypothetically, let's say you have a background in engineering and you're looking to take on a more consulting role. A great way to do that is to have an internship in consulting in Canada to open those potential doors for you. In terms of a little more details about our program, of course, we want all of our students to start on the same footing. We accept students from all sorts of academic backgrounds, whether you studied in social sciences, in business, in engineering, or so on. So all students start with business, math, and financial accounting. That's what we call base camp. So it gives you the opportunity to get a little refresher in terms of your math skills as you pursue the courses later on. Of course, with our program, we do want it to be individualized for your learning and for your career expectations. So we do offer the opportunity to partake in a different specialization. So we currently have 5 of them. So there's global strategy and leadership, marketing, entrepreneurship, finance, and business analytics. This gives you the opportunity to customize what you're going to take away from the degree and may also help you propel into the next step of your career process. Of course, when we think of the core module, an MBA program is there to give you a nice, well-rounded approach to different aspects of business. If you remember earlier when I mentioned that we integrated sustainability across a variety of our classes, this is what I'm referring to. So of course, when you tackle things such as business fundamentals, it wouldn't necessarily be useful to simply have one class in sustainability. So we integrated sustainability components across each one of our different core classes and of course the modules. As you can see here, they do cover quite a wide spectrum of business topics. So things such as accounting, economics, IT, finance, strategy, and international economics. So you really do cover a lot in your first semester, and we try to cap that off with, as we mentioned before, as we're trying to create the leaders of tomorrow, different leadership and professional skills. So not only are you going to learn the fundamental business components, you're also going to develop your leadership and professional skills. Of course, one important part of an MBA program is that you go beyond the classroom and that you don't simply learn about the theory of business, but you actually get to be hands-on and really experience the different elements of business. So we do that through a couple different ways. The first one is our international study trip. So you get to spend 10 days in a different country with your entire cohort. So for this trip, they usually choose a destination somewhere around the world. For example, in previous years, they have chosen Singapore. So what they do is they first look at an industry in Montreal, for example, our port of Montreal. They then travel to a new destination, such as Singapore, and look at the port of Singapore to do a comparative analysis to see how things differ in an international context. Of course, you're going to see some things that are similar and you're going to see some things that are different. This gives you a well-rounded international component to the program and can really help differentiate your application as you're going through the employment process. Of course, we do want you to have different opportunities. So the following three options are optional. So you can do an exchange semester. It's quite self-explanatory. You can go to one of our partner institutions and do a couple of your elective classes in a new country for a couple of months. And again, that gives you another international component if you want. There is the option to do a practicum. So this is a specialized research project you can do with one of our faculty members. And this is great if you really want to develop expertise in a certain area. So for example, if you want to be a consultant or a specialist in a certain area, a practicum is a great way to gain those skills and that knowledge as well. Of course, our most common experiential learning opportunity is the internship. So the internship is 4 months full-time, where you're able to not only get your foot in the door at an organization, but also gain that Canadian work experience that will help you better access jobs across Canada. Of course, if we look at our little graph here, you see that not all of our students actually do their internship in Montreal. It's only about 2/3 of them. Of course, if you're looking for a different field, such as the financial industry, Toronto is often a choice for our students as well to do their internship there. Of course, some of them choose the rest of Canada, so Vancouver, Calgary, and so on. And then, of course, we do have a smaller portion of students who choose to do their internship internationally. This is great if you want to do your internship in a country you're planning to work in later on, or if you just want another international experience. Of course, as I've been mentioning quite a few times, our program really tries to go beyond the classroom, and it tries to integrate a classroom to boardroom perspective. So you're not only learning the theory, but you're also having the opportunity to integrate different skills across organizational settings. So for example, if you want to work in a major company, if you want to work at a startup or so on, you do have that flexibility, and our career services are there to help you access these different positions. And in terms of one general statistic, of our students who are looking for an internship, 97% of them do end up having one. So it's a very high placement rate, even if you may not have a strong knowledge of French or certain work experiences, you can, for the most part, get an internship in Montreal, in Toronto, and so on. Of course, the MBA is part of your professional evolution. It can allow you to access a higher level executive position, or it can also help you reorient your career if you want to explore new areas. So the way we look at our career services is we try to give you as much resources as possible as you're going through the program. So of course, with our cohort, and it is unique compared to other programs, is that we have a very small cohort. So it's about 65 to 85 students. Each one is individually chosen, and this allows our program to create a very engaged and diverse community of young professionals who are interested in similar goals. Of course, given that a lot of our students are international, about 70% of them do come from every corner of the world, there is a great opportunity for knowledge and experience sharing. Everyone has a different academic background, everyone has a different professional background, so you're able to really communicate this in the classroom and share this with your colleagues. Of course, in terms of guidance and mentorship, our alumni are very involved in our student life and are there to support our current students. So when it comes to our alumni, we do have some alumni ambassadors, so you can connect with them from our website if you want to learn more about the program and what career opportunities are available. And of course, if you want to learn about our program, we always encourage you to contact our student ambassadors who are currently in the program. You can connect with them on LinkedIn, you can have a quick chat with them. This gives you the opportunity to learn more about our program. And of course, as we're trying to create the leaders of tomorrow, we do put as many leadership opportunities as possible. So there are different student life initiatives where you can be involved and really refine your leadership skills. So of course, in terms of our student life, just to give you an example, we have an entrepreneurship club, a consulting club, a case competition club. We do have sports clubs. We do have clubs that reflect a lot of the diversity of our student body as well. Of course, you want to be able to get a job once you graduate from the MBA. So we do provide a lot of key skills opportunities that you can develop. So for example, if you're interested in consulting, financial preparation, corporate strategy, and so on, you can participate in workshops in these specific areas that are organized by our career services. Of course, there are more fundamental workshops such as CV, presentation skills, and mock interviews to really teach you the skills that will be useful throughout your professional evolution. Of course, networking is a really important part of the business environment in Montreal and across Canada. So we do try to give you as many opportunities as possible, whether they're through recruitment events, company presentations and visits, alumni and current student events. We really try to give you as many opportunities to grow your professional network. And of course, when we look within the faculty and within our career services, from the first day you start the program, you have access to career coaches and career advisors. You can also be paired with a mentor if you're looking for a specific industry. So you have this great network and this great support around you to guide you through your professional evolution from the moment you start the program. Of course, when you look at all of this together, what does it do? It gives you great career advice. It helps you build your professional network, and ultimately it helps you find a job. In the previous year, so 2019, our placement rate was about 85% within 3 months of graduation. Of course, we always receive questions such as what is the average salary? What is the compensation package? Where do your students and graduates work? And we always recommend you visit our website for the most detailed information because we do separate them based on industry and based on job profile. Of course, everyone wants to see how they may be reflected in the program. So as I mentioned, we do have a very small cohort, about 65 to 85 students, and this emphasizes personalized teaching and also your career development. By having a smaller cohort, you have more resources at your disposal and a more individualized approach, not only to your learning, but also when it comes to career services and meeting with program advisors. Of course, if you want to get more into the sociodemographics, the average age of our students is 28. They have about 5 to 5.5 years of work experience. We do accept students with between about 2 and 10 years of work experience. There are opportunities where we can accept students with more work experience, but we really try to see how your work experience, the program, and your career ambitions line up. Of course, from an academic perspective, our program is an academic program, so our average GMAT is usually a 675. As you know, with averages, some are lower, some are higher, but that's about our cohort average. In terms of cumulative grade point average, it's about a 3.3 on a 4.0 scale. So again, relatively competitive, but what's nice about our program is we take a holistic approach to profile evaluation. So our admissions committee will really look at every component of your application. So your work experience, your educational background, your letters of reference, and then of course, your academic credentials. So things such as your cumulative grade point average, your GMAT, and so on. One thing that's great about our program is the diversity. So about 1/3 of our students are female, and about 21 different countries are represented across our student body. Of course, in terms of the more detailed admission requirements, I will go over them quite quickly. So in terms of work experience, we do require a minimum 2 years of relevant full-time post-graduation work experience. So let's say you did an undergraduate degree, and you graduated in, let's say, 2015, we count from the time you graduated and, of course, got your first job to August of the year you're applying. So, for example, if you're applying for 2021, we count your work experience up until August of 2021. Of course, we do require your transcripts from your undergraduate and other graduate degrees to allow us to assess your academic competencies. Of course, 2 professional letters of reference are required. So someone who has had a supervisory capacity over you, who can comment on your leadership, organizational skills, and potential in the program. If English is not your native language or you didn't study in English, you may have to provide a TOEFL or IELTS exam. So these are English proficiency exams. If you check our website, you can see if you would be exempt from them. Of course, we do have 3 essay questions. So this gives you the opportunity to present yourself beyond your documentation. So they ask you about your career ambitions and why you're choosing the MBA program. Of course, the Gmat or GRE are required for our program. You have the choice of submitting one or the other, but you must submit it. There are no exceptions. A 1-page CV outlining your professional experience, if you've done extracurricular activities, and so on. And by invitation, some of our students may do a video interview with our admissions committee. Of course, kind of as a conclusion, what is the next information that you need? In terms of our admission deadlines, there are a few of them coming out. So for round 2, our next one is on January 15th. Followed by that, if you're an international applicant, you have until March 15th of 2021 to submit all your documents and to complete your profile. We do rolling admissions, so from the time your profile is complete, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for you to receive your decision. So a relatively quick turnaround time. In terms of additional information, of course, tuition fees are an important component. So for our international students, the tuition fees are $99,500 Canadian for 2021. We are aware that is a significant investment, so we are quite generous with our scholarships. About 80% of our students receive some form of financial scholarship, and that ranges from about $5,000 Canadian to about $45,000 Canadian, with the average being $14,000 Canadian. So we try to be as generous as possible, but as was previously mentioned, an MBA has a great return on investment, and with our career services, we think that the cost of the program is competitive. Of course, that's a lot of information to take in at once. So if you do have any questions, I do encourage you to send me a quick little email, and I'm more than happy to have a one-to-one call with you and to answer any of your questions that you may have. So of course, thank you so much. And I wish the best of luck to everyone else presenting. And thank you again to the MBA Center for organizing this great event for us.
Yeah. Yes, I wish we could come to visit you. So Corey, I have a question to ask you.
Sure.
So can you tell me who was Dr. Marcel Desautels? Who was he? So for our guest, who was the person who gave a gift to McGill University?
Sure. So there are a couple different big players in McGill University. Of course, one of the biggest ones is James McGill, who is known as the founder of the university. It goes beyond that. When we look at the Faculty of Management, it used to be a smaller institution. That's when Dr. Marcel Desautels came into the picture and made a huge financial contribution, one of the largest in Canadian university history, to better develop the faculty and to modernize it. With his financial support, they were able to develop one of our main faculty buildings. They were able to completely renovate it and to also expand it. And then they were able to add the Armstrong building. So that's a building unique to our master students and our MBA students as well. So there's a unique environment for these students with modern classrooms, with all of the amenities they need to be successful in their program. So he is a big name. He is a philanthropist, of course, and of course, very much appreciated by our entire community.
Tell me, so I have also students who have applied to the Master in Finance, the McGill Master in Finance, and they told me that they work for the Desautels Capital Management Company, which is integrated. So can you tell me a bit more? And does it apply also to MBA students want to do a career in asset management?
Sure. So our Masters of Management in Finance is, of course, separate from our MBA program. The Desautels Capital Management Fund is a $9.5 million wealth management fund where students are able to work in collaboration with our faculty members and actually apply what they learn in class. So they're doing financial trades, they're buying different stocks and options, and really developing those key skills as an analyst. So every student in the MMF program does participate in Desautels Capital Management, and in some cases, other students are able to participate as well.
Okay, and so tell me, so I've seen that the placement, your care office does a great job because you have a great placement rate. What are your expectations for 2021? What is the job market in 2000? What do you expect in 2021 in Canada?
Sure. So what's unique about the Canadian job market is it depends by city. When we look uniquely at Montreal, things such as the AI industry, the technology industry, and the aviation industry are doing quite well. Understandably, the aviation industry may be having a couple difficulties nowadays with the global pandemic, but other industries such as our AI industry, so with offices from Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and so on, and some of our larger companies such as Element AI, there are opportunities in a variety of fields for our students. So we're very hopeful about the job market. And what's great about Montreal as a job market is they have higher level jobs because we are a university city and a service-oriented city. So there are many organizations looking for MBAs in particular.
Okay, but thank you very much, Corey. It was nice to talk to you and to work with to have you on board. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So of course we give you the list of the students who have applied, and what I want to tell you is that we have created a system called Outreach. So what Outreach will do, Outreach will be a system where people will have an account, so with their Gmat courses, but it will be like a private LinkedIn, sort of like LinkedIn, and our students will receive a scoring, okay? And from the scoring and the interest, you can already scan the student, the scoring, see his profile, and then you can take an appointment, okay? Because I believe that it's interesting that we have such seminars, but after that, we have to allow interaction, and it's preferable that when university say, okay, we use Outreach, and we go to check who is interested in our programs and who would like to invite. And maybe you can have a student who's interested in a program in the US and invite him because you believe that he would fit to your program. And of course, we want diversity. And me, to tell you the truth, when I arrived in Belgium, the first program that I was managing a program for to allow nurses to pass the national exam, the national nurse exam, the US one, NCXX, something like that. And I had many of the nurses that decided to go to Canada, to work in Canada, because they told me that there were incredible opportunities for nurses in the countries, great jobs, you know, great work conditions, great salaries, etc. It was not easy to get the papers, but it was worth it. So thank you again, Corey. You know that Canadians are very popular in France and in Belgium. We love your country. So up to you, Anna, you know, and then I will ask Jess. Anna, can you,
Yes, great. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen. Here, great. So good morning, or maybe good afternoon, or maybe good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today with my colleagues from Schulich and McGill, always is. So my name is Anna. I'm the recruitment and marketing manager for the graduate programs at the John Molson School of Business, Concordia University. If you have any questions after the session, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn or on WhatsApp, more than happy to connect with you and take a look at your profiles. This information will also be available on chat at the end of the presentation. So let me tell you a little bit about the John Molson MBA program. And I like to describe the program as being practical, flexible, and experiential, but also very affordable. But before I dive into the specific, for those of you who haven't heard already the introduction of Montreal by Corey, just want to re-emphasize the city a little bit. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I've lived in Montreal for most of my life, so I think it's one of the best places in the world. But it is a student city, so it's been named #1 student city in North America by QS. We're also a very safe environment. It's also one of the most affordable major cities in Canada. Great student city. You can get to interact with students from all over the world, very international, and it is a very bilingual environment. So you might see signs here and there written in French, but people welcome you saying bonjour, hi, and then you can choose which language you want to speak. Just to reassure you, our downtown is mostly Anglophone, and our courses here at Concordia are completely in English as well. So you don't have to pick up the language to take the course. But if you want to immigrate in the future, if you want to stay in the longer term, we do recommend to learn French. So as for the Concordia University, we're a young university, probably much younger than the other universities who are here on this panel today. We're approximately 50 years old. That being said, we're really proud of what we've achieved in that short amount of time. We've ascended in the rankings. Particularly, we're proud of the Times Higher Education, which places us #1 in Canada for quality of education. Our MBA program is doing quite well in the rankings. So we're in 2 major rankings, Bloomberg Business Week and The Economist, in the top 5 in Canada and top 100 in the world. And we're also #1 in Canada for entrepreneurship, according to The Economist and Princeton Review. I don't have to tell you this, and maybe you've noticed already that all the panelists on this event today have studied at other universities than what they are representing. But I think it really goes to show how great the quality of education here is in Canada. So, you know, don't follow just the rankings. Try to focus on finding out what kind of experience is the right one for you, what kind of learning you want to have, what kind of city you want to be post-graduation, and think about these details as you go through this presentation. We're also ACSB accredited as well as Parity Certified, which shows our commitment to diversity and inclusion. But let me tell you a bit more about John Molson School of Business. And if you see any of our advertisement in the future, you might see that we call ourselves the next generation business school. And what we try to achieve is to give you very modern facilities. We give you access to the latest technology. If you go on our 9th floor, we have this beautiful trading room with Bloomberg terminals. We bring in different softwares like the Croesus portfolio management. But beyond all of the technology, what really matters to us is that we don't lose sight of what's really important, which is really the aspect of community. So when you look at our community, it's composed, of course, of our faculty members. We have more than 300 faculty members from a variety of different countries. We have a sizable network of 50,000 alumni worldwide just for the John Molson School of Business. That doesn't include the rest of Concordia, and more than 5,000 MBA alumni. And while you're tapping into a sizable network, you still have access to a very personalized experience. So for the MBA program, we typically only welcome 70 to 80 students during the fall, approximately 40 during the winter. It's a very diverse network. It's approximately half of our students that come from the international, 40% of our students are women. And in terms of their backgrounds, they have approximately 5 to 6 years of work experience, a Gmat average of 640, and an average GPA of 3.4. So an academically strong class, but also very diverse. But the advantage of small class sizes, so typically, even though we receive approximately 120 students per year, the class size never exceed 40 to 45 students. The advantage of that is that you'll get to know your peers really well, you'll get to build connections with them, you'll get to have access to your professors, but still you have access to a wide network. So you have to consider how many people you'll get to meet during your experience. Or approximately 120 students in your year. There's an incoming another 120 students that will start the following year. And of course, you've got the outgoing and part-time students that are approximately another 120. So at one given time at the John Molson School of Business, there is approximately 300 or 350 MBAs. And half of those are Canadian students, which allows you to really build your network in Canada, especially if you're an international student. That is so key for you to be successful in your job search afterwards. And if I could describe a little bit what kind of students we're looking for, and I guess who our students are, I like to describe them as being very engaged. They take part in a lot of sustainability initiatives, in community initiatives as well. They care about the environment. I like to call them very inclusive because they come from various walks of life. We have students from all over the world, all kinds of backgrounds, and you don't need to have a business degree to do an MBA. You can be an engineer, you can be a singer, you can be a dancer. It really is a great program to really use as a platform to get into advance in your career or to pivot into a different field. And finally, I like to call them collaboratively competitive because as much as our students love going to case competitions, they love performing and bringing prizes and competing with other schools, they are very collaborative within the program. So it's not rare that you hear about different students applying for the same jobs but helping each other during the application process, really showcasing how much MBAs have changed. There was a time when MBAs were maybe portrayed as really alpha and independent and maybe sometimes self-serving, but now MBAs are all about collaborating, learning to work together, and having a bigger impact on society. So to give you just a brief overview of what you'll get through in the program in terms of academics, and there's more information available on the website if you want. It all starts with an online on-ramp, so it's a little bit the equivalent of a base camp where you'll have different modules to do online in math for finance, statistics, a little bit of team building, all of this to help you get back into the mode of studying, and especially if you don't come from a business background, you might need that to get back into it. And then our program is a really strategy-oriented program. So we have 10 core courses that are dedicated for you to become a better manager, a better strategist. And they start with different modules on management, on finance, analytics, marketing, decision-making, and then they lead to the culminating point of crafting and implementing successful strategies, which is our capstone. And on top of those courses, you'll have access to a variety of experiential electives, which will allow you to build experience, concrete experience, while doing your MBA. And I'd like to also specify that our entire core is case-based. So we really try to emphasize the idea of replicating what you're doing in a real work environment. You're working as part of a team, you're working on a case that has really existed, and then you apply the solution and you present it to the class. So it's a very interactive form of learning. And if you do our program with the regular length of time, it's usually 16 to 20 months. There's different types of options that are available for experiential, which may make it a little bit longer or not, depending on what you wish to do. International students have to do the program full-time to qualify for the study permit. And so I mentioned experiential electives, and I always find that it's a little bit difficult to define what is an experiential elective if this doesn't exist where you are. It's really an elective where you're taking a class, but you're actually doing a project of sort, and then getting credits in exchange. So for example, we organize the world's oldest and largest case competition, the ICC, International Case Comp, and where we invite 36 teams from across the world. It's an event that is completely organized by our MBA students. They manage and contact up to more than 300 judges from industry. They manage more than 400 volunteers, and you get credits for that, but you're basically, it's a great performance of event management, strategy, marketing, and so on. If you're interested in being a competitor, you can also get credits for that. So we have a great case competition boot camp of sorts. So you can take classes like strategy and action. You can take, you can join a case competition and get credits for that. It gives you the opportunity to participate in more than 10 local, national, international competitions per year. You have access to specific coaches. Tim Field, our resident expert, is a consultant and also a professor at John Molson, and he supports the students in those endeavors. A lot of our students who ended up at firms like McKinsey and Deloitte went through this program. If you're interested in, if you're an international student, you want to build some Canadian work experience, we have a co-op internship program. So typically you can apply for an internship that lasts 3 to 4 months, maybe a little bit more. That gives you additional access to coaching, interview preparation, CV reviews. You will then build experience in the field of your choice. They facilitate the interviews for you, so it's a very smooth process. And if you're a top student, you perform really well during the program, you've been involved, you could also apply for a CEO shadowing program, in which case you are basically following a CEO during the course of your internship, and he assigns you a strategy project, which you will then present to the other MBAs as a result of the internship. Other types of ways to get involved, you know, sustainability, community, impact, that's really part of what is really important to a John Molson MBA. So we have the Concordia Small Business Consulting Bureau, where you get consulting cases from local businesses, you get paid for that, you get credits up for that as well. If you're interested in helping an NGO or an NPO, we have the Community Service Initiative. Again, a very great consulting focused skill set where you're helping them solve a strategy case that they might have. Or if you're interested in the International Community Outreach Program, we send out students abroad to help communities in need. They also have a case competition every year, another way to help an NGO or an NPO who might not be able to afford a top tier consulting firm, but who has access to great resources through our MBAs. And if you're interested in finance, I love the Van Berkom Investment Management Program. You're dealing with real money. It's a $1 million donation by John Molson alumnus Sebastian Van Berkom. You get to manage a portfolio of small cap stocks. So the first year you work as an analyst, the second year you work as a portfolio manager. And there's also a case competition where we invite 12 Canadian schools to compete. It's very one of its kind. It's a great networking opportunity to get to know the rest of Canada. Now that leads me to, of course, maybe the reason why you're here is your career and how we prepare you to get the best return on investment from your MBA. So we want you to leverage an array of opportunities. We have a great career management services team that is very available to help you during the course of the program. So they organize more than 550 workshops a year, more than 200 employer events. They have a database with more than 900 employers and more than 3,000 job postings every year. So that gives you access to a wide array of opportunities. They, of course, also offer you access to career coaches. They organize networking events. And obviously right now with COVID-19, there's a bit of a challenge for us to gather in person, but they do that online, and it has been very successful for the students, making use of, you know, breakout rooms, for example. And now, you know, in a way, COVID-19 has been helpful in one aspect, is you can network with anyone in Canada without worrying about the distance. We also have special programs for international students. We know it's a challenge to come to Canada and, you know, change your life and understand what the job market is like. So we have these different programs where we invite graduates of the program to share their experience with you so that you can learn to navigate the challenges of the job market. And we have a variety of firms that come on our campus, of course, all the top tier consulting firms, including McKinsey, BCG. We have the Deloitte. So if you're interested in tech, we have Microsoft, IBM. You're interested in banking industry, we have all the big 5 banks in Canada, or all the pension funds like PSP Investments or the CDPQ, the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. This is just a sample of companies that have hired John Molson MBA in the recent years. Opportunity is accessible. After that, it's a matter of you, making the most of it and taking advantage of those. We also, of course, invite different industry guest speaker series. For example, just before the break, we had Nadine Renaud-Tinker, who's president of the Quebec headquarters of Royal Bank of Canada. She came in a small setting of MBAs of approximately 100 students, came in with 2 recruiters to share also what they're looking for. So you have really the opportunity of not just seeing these guest speakers and listening to what they have to say, but also really interacting with them one-on-one, making you not just a number, but really a valuable part of their network. And so a few quick success stories from students that I personally know. Vanessa Caras graduated last year. She had a music background. Earlier I said you don't need to have a business background to do an MBA. As a matter of fact, that is absolutely true. You can come from music the way she did. She worked in music for 4 years in producing, and then she focused during the MBA on a strategy skill set, did the case competitions, did the case competition program, organized a case competition, I believe, and then she made it into McKinsey. and she helped our student this year to make it into McKinsey as well. So it's also a culture of giving back. Sapandeep, who's a very engineer background student from India. He did a bachelor's of engineer and then a master's of engineering. And then he was like, you know what, maybe engineering is not the route. So he decided to do a big career change to finance, secured an internship at CIBC in their graduate leadership development program in his first summer. Right after the summer, they made him a job offer for the following year. So he had secured this job right before, even starting his second year. And Winnie Hu, someone from actually from Montreal, she was working at Bombardier, so obviously very aerospace, wanted to do a big career change. She started attending so many different events related to finance, secured an opportunity at Canada's largest pension fund, CDPQ, and then networked her way to get into RBC Wealth Management, where she's working now in Toronto. So even though she was in Montreal, she was able to also leverage our network in the largest city in Canada. So that leads me to your return on investment. I keep saying you're going to get the best return on investment. Absolutely, we have one of the most competitive tuition fees in Canada, especially among top 5 or top 10 schools. So our total tuition fee for international students is 42,000 Canadian dollars. If you qualify for permanent residence, then it would be only $14,000. And if you're a lucky Quebec resident, you pay as little as $6,000. And our employment statistics are quite strong. We have 97% of our students who find employment within 3 months of graduation with an average base salary of 87,000 Canadian dollars. Of course, the non-guaranteed compensation and average bonuses are not included. That's sometimes between $6,000 to $20,000 additional, depending on the field. Of course, not everyone secures one, but it does help. So it shows that you can have access to great opportunities, and if you know how to leverage them, you will be successful. And we believe that sincerely. And so if you're interested in starting your journey with us, the application process is pretty straightforward. It's quite similar from a school to another, I suppose, but it's a 4-year undergraduate degree or equivalent with a 3.0 GPA. It's not a strict GPA minimum, but we do recommend to stay close to that to be admitted. Our Gmat requirement is a 580. We will not look below that score. Our average, as I mentioned earlier, is a 640. So we do recommend as much as possible to stay close or above the average for better chances of admission. You'll need to showcase your language proficiency through the TOEFL or the IELTS, or now, because of COVID-19, we also accept the Duolingo language test. And we'll need you to submit a resume or a CV. The minimum years of experience we consider for this program is 2 years, but the average, as I mentioned, is 5.5 years. And if you've seen in the chat, I also mentioned that we sometimes accept up to 15 years. So if you're a little bit unsure, you just want us to take a look at your resume, send it to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. And then you'll also have to submit a statement of purpose, 3 letters of reference, preferably professional. But in the case of, if you have struggled academically, then you could also submit an academic one. And we have a video interview process where basically we want to know more about you. We want to see your communication skills, your professionalism, and so on. So if I can recap very quickly our presentation, the John Molson MBA program is a very practical and experiential program, with case-based learning and experiential electives that allows you to build concrete experience. We offer one of Canada's best return on investment with a competitive tuition fee and great employment opportunities post-graduation. And if you're interested, get in touch with us. Get in touch with us now. That's what we're here for. You can come on our website, concordia.ca/MBA, and I'll leave my contact information here for those of you who want to get in touch on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, or by email. So thank you so much for your attention, and thank you, Hubert, for organizing this. We're very happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much. So basically, and I remember when we conducted an interview, I would like you to explain how it works for a foreigner. If the foreigner wants to take advantage of being in Canada and work a bit, so how does it work? How long does the student visa last? Can they expect to have the visa transformed into a residency visa? Can you explain to us the whole procedure for, let's say, for Indian students, for instance, because we have a lot of Indian students?
Well, I don't know specifically per country. However, if you do apply for a study permit, the study permit, you can apply also to work for up to 20 hours per week during the program and full-time during the summer. And then post-graduation, if you do a 2-year MBA program, you'll have access to an up to 3-year work permit. Typically, they give you the full 3 years. The duration of the work permit is typically associated with the duration of the program. So if you do a 1-year program, typically it's closer to a 1-year work permit. If you do a 2-year, then closer to 2 to 3 years. Unfortunately, I can't give a lot of concrete explanations about the visas and work permit because it changes constantly, especially now with the context of COVID-19. I know that they've modified it so that our students who are currently abroad are able to still study online part of their program and still have access to their work permit post-graduation. But for more information on that matter, I would usually defer to our international student office. We have an office that deals entirely with all of the questions on study permit. They help you with your documents. They help you make sure that everything is in order, and it's a completely free of charge service. They do it for all students who have been admitted to the program. But the general rule is if you do a 2-year MBA program, you have access to an up to 3-year work permit. And that's a really great advantage that Canada has. And it's an open work permit. You could study in Ontario and then come and work in Quebec afterwards. You could study in Quebec and then go work in Ontario afterwards. You have to select I don't think you have to select the province specifically for the work permit itself. I think for immigration, you have to think a little bit where you want to be in the long term, but that's another can of worms that I'm not gonna walk into too much. I can see Jess is looking at me now. She's like, yeah, let's not go into this.
And what are the most dynamic regions? The Victoria region is the most dynamic today in Canada. What are the economically most dynamic for you, according to you?
Well, I'm obviously biased because I think Montreal is very dynamic and I think the job market has been really good. But I think so just to give you a representation of where our students go, typically we have about 50% of our students who remain in Montreal, about 30% of our students who go to Toronto. So I think Montreal and Toronto being the 2 largest cities, they do offer a lot of advantages in terms of lifestyle, in terms of, job markets. Obviously, there's no contest that Toronto is the largest job market in Canada. It has a lot of headquarters of companies and banks and so on. Montreal is a very up and coming kind of job market in a way. It has a lot of tech companies. Video game industry is very strong. As Corey mentioned earlier, the aviation industry is usually one of our strong suits, maybe a little bit less right now. Anything that has to do with engineering, all of these things, pharma is really strong in Montreal. I'm less familiar with the Vancouver, Victoria market because it's just so far away, but I'm sure it's like the rest of Canada where there's tremendous opportunities and, beautiful quality of life. Like I can honestly say that no matter where you go in Canada, you'll have amazing quality of life compared to, and I don't want to compare so much to other countries, but I really think there's a great opportunity for anyone who wants to start a new life in Canada, get a good job and also feel really integrated as part of society, because it's a very diverse society in general. No matter where you go, you see people from everywhere, all walks of life. And I think that's really what the strength of Canada is how open-minded and diverse it is.
Okay, so thank you very much. Anna, it was very informative. By the way, if you go on the MBA Center YouTube channel, we made an interview of Anna where she described at length her passion and interest for John Molson. So as I told you, Anna, I know John Molson as well because you have built an alliance of executive MBA programs in the world. Okay, and of course it's a good way to spread the name. And I strongly encourage you, by the way, to continue this approach because it's a very good way of spreading the name of the school. Okay, for instance, Kellogg did that as well. Kellogg has a partnership a bit all over the world with HKUST, with WHU in Germany, and it helped a lot to make the name better known. So it's homework for you.
Great,
thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you. Jess from York. So yes, so you see, I hear a lot about your school from our students. So because each student has a profile at MBA Center. And I see, and it's not easy for us to pronounce Schulich, okay, School of Business.
Sure.
But yes, I guess I still cannot make it. but it's a school that it's a name that come over. So you seem to be extremely popular. So we want to know more about your program. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, can you see that okay?
It's coming up. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So I'm very happy to be here today. My name is Jessica. Our school is called the Schulich School of Business. It is a difficult name to pronounce, but just like the McGill namesake, it's a name of a famous Canadian philanthropist who donates a lot of money to educational institutions. So you'll actually see a lot of Schulich schools in Canada. There's a Schulich School of Business, a Schulich School of Engineering, of Music, of Dentistry. So it will become a common name if you're researching into Canadian institutions. So we're part of York University, which is based in Toronto, Canada. York is the 3rd largest university in Canada. So we've got about 60,000 students on our campus, and the campus is sort of like a mini city of its own. Unlike other campuses, it's really like an encapsulated campus life where there's nothing else in the campus except for the school. You don't see other, buildings or businesses that are not part of the university there. So the Schulich School of Business offers a very flexible MBA program. Flexibility and customization is something that we're really known for. We've got 18 different specializations within the MBA program. We have additional graduate diplomas that you can add on at no additional cost or time. It just makes you follow a specific pathway, and you end up with 2 credentials at the end. There's also some joint degree options. So if you're somebody with an arts background, we have a combined Master of Arts and MBA, or a Master of Fine Arts and MBA. Or if you're looking for, looking to practice law in Canada, we have a joint JD MBA program as well with Osgoode Hall Law School at York. So we are flexible in terms of, we have 2 start dates per year. You could begin your program in January or in September. The program is pretty much the same between the 2 of them. There's only one small difference, and I'll talk about that shortly. But we do have 2 campuses in Toronto. We have our main Keele campus, which is the York University campus, and we have a downtown satellite campus. So the satellite campus is mainly for part-time students, but some of your electives you may see offered there, and you're welcome to take them as well at that campus. So I'm going to talk basically about what our program structure is like, what you can expect as a student in the program. In your first year, of course, you have all of the foundational curriculum. You have the ability to cover all the various functional areas of business that you would expect in any MBA program, learning about accounting, finance, marketing, operations, etc. But the first year really focuses on building up your leadership skills, team dynamics, and problem solving. So you're really going to start to hone those skills in that first year of the program. Between the first year and the second year, you do have an option to take a break. So during that break, most students would do an internship. So the internship is optional. It's not a mandatory part of the program. So you can skip it if you prefer to finish your program faster and get back into your career as quickly as possible. So the duration of the program without the break is 16 months in class, so 4 semesters of 4 months each. And then if you do take the break, you can finish the program in 20 months on a full-time basis. So when you come back into the second year of the program, this is where we get really customizable and unique. We do 2 parts simultaneously. First is something called the strategy field study. So that at Schulich is very unique. It is something that everybody must do. It is an 8-month-long consulting project. So you are going to be in a team of about 6 students. You and your team will be doing some business development and going out to find a client to work with. And you'll be working with a real company for 8 months. Basically, once you have your client on board, you and your team are going to be doing really in-depth research into their organization and their industry and helping them solve a strategic business challenge that they're facing at the moment. So this project gives you a chance to apply everything you've learned in that first year and all the concepts you're currently learning in your second year at the same time. Because this project is sort of a side of the desk project that you're doing at the same time as you're doing your electives in your second year. Now, at Schulich, we have 18 different areas of specializations that you could focus on. They're all listed here in the gray box. If you choose to do a specialization, what that means is that 4 of your elective courses will be in this one subject area. Now, you could do up to 2 specialization areas. We have that many electives in the program to be able to do that. And there's no specific requirement that you have to have pre-existing experience in any of these areas, because a lot of people come to an MBA program to help them do a shift in their career. So if you want to pair up something like accounting with global mining management, because you're interested in the mining industry, but your functional role is accounting, that's definitely something you could do. We have a lot of very unique specializations, something like arts, media, and entertainment management, global mining management, global retail, health industry management, real estate and infrastructure, and social sector management. You don't often see at a lot of schools having these unique specializations. My colleague from McGill was talking really a lot about sustainability. That is also a key core to what Schulich is all about. When you are learning at Schulich, always in mind will be the triple bottom line, not only just the profits of your company, but also what are the impacts to the planet and the other stakeholders that are involved in the community that your business is working. So whether or not you choose to focus one of your specializations on business and sustainability, you're going to learn those concepts throughout the program. In fact, Corporate Knights, which is a magazine and an organization that focuses on sustainability, has ranked us #1 in Canada for our focus on sustainability. So we're really happy to have that recognition there. When it comes to the student body at Schulich, we're about 55% international. Our student body is covering about 44 different nationalities. And at Schulich, we've got over 31,000 alumni who are active contributors to our alumni chapters around the world. They often give back to the community through mentorship programs, through coming in as guest speakers, through bringing their companies back to participate in the strategy field study project, because they've seen how valuable it was firsthand. So there's a lot of great opportunity to engage with the alumni organization and people all over the world. So whether or not you stay in Canada, whether you go back home or you end up in a third country, you'll have that alumni network to tap into. And as was mentioned, if you come to study an MBA in Canada, a program like ours, which is considered a 2-year program, whether or not you do the 16 or 20-month method, you are going to be eligible for up to 3 years of a work permit. So this is the snapshot of last year's graduating class. 89% of graduates were hired within 3 months of graduating, and their average starting salary was about $93,000. Now, because of our wide array of specializations, they're in all sorts of different industries. So as you can see by the chart, it ranges everything from financial services, technology, and consulting to law, energy, healthcare, not-for-profit. So there's no one path to take with Schulich. You can really carve your own path into the career of your choice. So like the other schools as well, our admission requirements are quite similar, so I won't spend too much time here. But you need to have a 3 or 4 year degree. For work experience, at least 2 years by the program start. If you did a 3-year degree, you would need at least 3 years of work experience by the program start. We also do, like my colleague Anna has at her school, video essays as a part of the application. So we have a couple of different types. The first type of essay is like your statement of purpose. Why do you want to come and study at Schulich? Why is our program right for you? And what are your career goals in the short and long term? The video essay and timed written question will help us evaluate your communication skills and style. It is really important to have strong communication skills in an MBA program because you will be participating a lot in class. You will be giving and sharing your opinion, and you need to be able to present yourself appropriately. For us, we require 2 professional references as a part of the application process. So this is kind of overview of fees and funding opportunities at Schulich. The international student tuition for the full program, it's about $107,000, and that's across the 2 years of the program. We do have scholarships available for international students. They are merit-based, so we are looking at your Gmat or GRE, your GPA, as well as your leadership skills. This is really important. Because a lot of the scholarships do require outstanding leadership. So whether that's through extracurricular activities, volunteering, or maybe in your industry, you're part of a committee that's outside of the scope of your regular work. Those are the types of things we'd love to see on your resume so we can learn a bit more about you. In addition, there are loans for both domestic and international students. So definitely we know it's a big investment. We want to be able to help where we can. So we've got these arrangements with some private loan providers, especially in India. We actually work with a number of local banks that provide favorable loan products as well. And then, as I mentioned, we have 2 intakes per year to our MBA program. We do have 4 deadline rounds that you could choose to apply for. The next round for September 2021 is at the end of January. And for international students, we really encourage you to apply as early as possible. By round 2 at the latest, because you do have to apply for a study permit. These things take time, especially now where we know there's a lot of delays, and students are going to be impacted if they don't act early enough to get their study permits rolling. And lastly, I'll just mention there was a question about programs that do require the Gmat or not. We do have a number of specialized master's programs as well. I'm not really going to touch on today, but I did want to just say that they are available at Schulich. These are the different areas. Some of them do require Gmat, some of them do not. It depends on the program, but they're more about 12 months specialized in one area versus the MBA gives you a broader exposure to business areas with the ability to specialize over 2 years. So that's the end of my slide deck. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. And thank you for having me today. I think that Toronto is a really great place to be. As Anna mentioned, it's one of the biggest job markets in Canada. It's really the home to a lot of different North American headquarters for multinationals. And we have a thriving tech industry, in fact, growing at a faster pace than Silicon Valley. So a lot of great opportunities there for candidates in the future.
So tell me, Jess, the place where you are, how dynamic is it? So you mentioned that it is very dynamic. So how dynamic is the economy in the York surroundings?
So York is within the city of Toronto. So Toronto is one of the best places for business, I think, that you can find. One of the most multicultural cities in North America. So the really great thing is, as international students, you blend right in. Nobody can actually tell that you're an international student. So you have a little bit of advantage there because you don't feel that people know that this is my first time here, or you have that ability to be assumed to be a local. And there's everything here in Toronto, from the tiniest startup, and we do have a thriving startup ecosystem here in Toronto, to the largest multinational, as I mentioned. So a lot of different opportunities available, and I think it's a really great place to be for a future career, especially for international students.
Okay, so tell me, I have a student who has 16 years of work experience. It's not too much for a colleague. You would not advise her to him or her to study, to do an MBA?
So it's not exactly just on the number. And it's also not on the age. What it is we want to make sure the program a student chooses is right for them in terms of the learning outcomes that they're going to gain from the program. Somebody with 16 years or more experience typically has already been a manager for a number of years, and they might not benefit as much from the learning experiences that are happening throughout the program. So typically we sort of have the range that up to 2 years to up to 15 or maybe 16 for the right candidate is a fit for the MBA, and anything above that is more likely a fit for our executive MBA. And we do we partner with Kellogg for the executive MBA at Schulich.
Okay, so you get a double degree Kellogg Schulich? Yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Schulich. Okay. In terms of Gmat, I have a student who is interested in your program, but she only got 580. She should apply or she should retake the Gmat?
I think it depends on the profile. So, we always encourage students to reach out with their full resume so we can talk to them more about how their profile stacks up in the competitive nature of applying. 580 is in our acceptable range. So if she has a strong profile otherwise, that could raise up her competitive nature. So if her GPA is really strong, then that sort of balances out the academic side of things. So a less than average GMAT doesn't mean it's a no, as long as it's within our acceptable range, which is 550 plus. The average is 660. So I would say don't count yourself out without inquiring.
Okay, very good. So what else can I say? So we have seen that yes, there are others. After that, there are other questions. So how do you see the job market in Canada in 2021?
Well, I think we're definitely looking up. We were very happy to see, even throughout the pandemic so far, that a lot of our employment partners have continued to put their job postings out. Of course, some industries have been hit a lot harder than others, but our Career Center was very happy to see that a lot of companies are still coming to us to post internships and to post full-time post-graduation positions. So we are hoping to see that continue to improve over the COVID duration that we've experienced so far. Of course, the economy has slowed, but it is ramping back up. So we have a positive outlook for the future, and especially once these students who are only considering an MBA now graduate their program, absolutely, it's expected to be back to what it was, if not, keep on advancing more by that time.
Okay, so basically, Jess, you're in charge of what, international recruitment at York?
That's right.
So,
That's
okay, so you recruit students. So you have an area of expertise, or you focus on the entire world. So any student can you manage any type of student, or you have a regional focus?
Well, we do have a team that manages international applicants. So, if it's not me, it would be one of my team members. Basically, my area of focus would be anything that is not India, America, Canada, or China. Everything else comes to me. The other areas, we have other team members that manage. So if there's somebody that's interested, the best thing to do is reach out to our admissions email, and you would be directed to the right party, and I can share that email in the chat as well.
Okay, anyway, you receive the contact information of our students, and there will be more to come. So basically, for information, MBA Center is going to become a social community. So we're moving from a test prep, because I've noticed that in terms of valuation of our job, it would be much better valued. So we're going to become a sort of Beat the Gmat club, okay? And you have to know that we have great experts in our field. You have seen Kevin, who scored 790, has scored 800. I have David, who scored 760. So we have great people. So I believe that we can somehow stand out. Jenny, do you have questions to ask us, because we are in charge of students? For information, so we have 10 account managers who talk to 6 to 7 students per day, which makes we speak to 60 to 70 students who want to do a master on MBA. Do you have question to ask us about the interest for Canada? Do you have some curiosity maybe since we manage different continents? Do you have question for us, Anna, as well? I don't know. Like the perception of Canada from our students, or the concern of our students. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, it's always good for us to know more about how Canada is perceived in the rest of the world. Obviously, we're a little bit biased because we've been living here for so long that we tell everyone Canada is the best country in the world. But if you've heard any feedback about that from the students you interact with, would be happy to hear it. I don't know about you, Jess, but I kind of just assume it's you feel the same.
So basically, it's true that it's something that I see a lot. Is that the students that I see applying to Canada, they want to stay. Okay, they don't want to Canada to study. They want to stay. And as you know, there are 3 countries in the world that are pretty open to immigration. It's Germany, Netherlands, and Canada. Okay, and I've seen that they really consider Canada as a place to live and stay. And as you know, a lot of students, they make an investment. For them, it's a lifelong investment. Okay, a lot of them have friends already who live there, so we share a good experience. And if they study in Canada, there's a good reason. So of course, it's something pretty new because we opened the Mumbai office last summer, and of course, I started to see things differently because in Europe you still have not much immigration. So Europeans do not migrate; they study for their personal development. Usually, they come back. While I saw that in countries, people are looking for a second chance, basically through their studies. So that's the first thing that I noticed. Yes, so me, of course, I'm positively impressed because I'm European. I work for a reputable business school, which is in the top 5. I think ESSEC is one of the top 5 in Europe. But of course, when I see the quality of the work, I have many friends who are professors at UQAM, at McGill, different schools. So of course, I know the quality of what you're doing. And the question that I have for you, it's not too difficult to be too close to America, to have a country that has such a reputation in business education. What do you intend to do to try to stand out, to differentiate yourself? What is your approach? What is your strategy?
I mean, I think Canada differentiates itself just kind of naturally. I mean, as much as we're close to the US, and it's true that they are an extremely attractive market, there's also different strength to Canada. I think our lifestyle is very different. How safe the country is in general, how stable it is. I think there's not as much of a I think there are some countries where there's a clear, difference or imbalance between certain educational institutions or not. But in Canada, generally, most institutions are quite well reputable. It's more about the kind of experience that they provide or where they are located. So I think it's a very different. I don't think we're trying to compete with the States so much as we're just trying to stand on our own. And I think the people who choose to come to Canada are also looking for something very specific, maybe more of a lifestyle than, specifically a type of salary or a type of, rankings or a type of, I think they go a little bit beyond those general prerequisites when they look at countries. I think the idea of being able to stay post-graduation and fairly easily to get that work permit is very attractive because it gives them a sense of choice. Do I want to stay here and explore everything that this country has to offer, or do I want to stay here just for a short time and then move back to my country? Like, I feel like that's really what that sense of freedom is in Canada, is to have this welcoming environment with people that are extremely diverse, that are open to diversity, where you can have discussions about everything. So I wouldn't say we're competing with the States as much as we're just kind of standing in our own kind of corner, and we're basically saying, okay, this is what we offer, and if this is what you're looking for, come to us. We'll be happy to welcome you. This is my perception on it. I don't know if my colleagues will agree with this, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I would say that's a good diagnosis of the situation. You know, Canada is very welcoming and open for international students in particular, because we are a very small population in a very large country, and we need more people. So we actually really want people who are interested in strong education, contributing to the workforce, you know, joining our country. This is why the policies of the government are so positive, allowing open work permits for up to 3 years, allowing pathways to immigration. Education is a great way to, you know, get into immigrating to Canada. So I think that, you know, that really speaks to the country as a whole, and our viewpoint is that we need more people to come to Canada and to want to join the Canadian economy. And you know, education is a fantastic way to help people make that change in their life from one location to another.
Okay, and I noticed that the salaries are pretty high. Do they include, so for both of you, so Jess, you mentioned 93,000, it was Canadian dollars or US dollars? Canadian dollars, okay. I think that, of course, the cost of living in Toronto is less than the cost of living in London or Paris, I imagine. How do you explain such high salaries? It's pretty high, 93,000.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto is a high cost of living city in terms of Canadian cities, second to Vancouver. So it's a higher salary, I think, to, you know, make up for the higher cost of living that also exists here. But I will share in the chat the link to our full career report. Obviously, different industries have higher salaries than others as well. We also have people that focus on not-for-profit, social sector. Obviously, those salaries are going to be a bit lower than the investment bankers and the consultants. So it's important to take a deeper look at what that's all about by industry, based on the one that you're interested in working in the future, to get a realistic picture of you know, what it could mean for you.
Yes.
I'm echoing this.
It's pretty high. It's pretty high, yeah. But how do you compare the cost of living between I don't know, a city like Paris and Montreal? I'm sure that it's cheaper.
Well, Montreal is significantly more affordable than Paris. I think, you know, among the three major Canadian cities, Montreal definitely has that advantage of the cost of living. You could live downtown. Just to give you an example, I used to live downtown in a loft apartment that was connected to a gym within the same building, with like security at the bottom, and I was, you know, 10-minute walk from work, and I was paying all included, including the internet, the heating and everything. I was paying $1,400 per month. So that's, you know, I don't know how many apartments in Paris you can get at $1,400 Canadian dollars a month right downtown Paris, but I would assume not so many. So definitely significantly more affordable. I think salaries vary per industries, definitely, and sometimes they do vary per location. And so it is true that some salaries in Toronto may be more competitive. If it's across the same industry, like for example, if you look at finance or consulting, we find that the salaries are quite similar between the three major cities. But there are definitely, you know, some industries that might be a little bit less competitive on the salary side, especially like for us as well. We have a lot of students who are interested in non-for-profit and sustainability, and you know, when you want to make an impact, sometimes you don't always get fully compensated for that. So their salaries will not compare absolutely to an investment banker. If you look at investment banking salaries, you might look at an easy base 6-figure plus another you know, 6-figure of bonuses, right? I had a student who told me that if you're an investment banker and you don't make as much in bonus as what you're making in base salary, you're not doing a very good job. So it's difficult to compare those salaries in the high 6 figures with like people who might go into the education sector or who might go into the nonprofit sector or any of these, right? So I think that's why there's a wide range. And I think, as Jess was saying, it's really important to look at the kind of industry you want to get into, and pay attention to what kind of salary levels you can expect so that you can set the right expectation, and to look at the schools, more detailed information about salaries, about where their graduates go, what kind of companies they go into. We all have student ambassadors at all of our schools, so we can connect you with some of those students who have the experience of going through that job application process, and who have colleagues who might be interested in the industry that you're particularly interested in. So the more information you gather before you come to Canada, by connecting with the schools, by connecting with their schools ambassadors, by gathering information, the better equipped you'll be once you start your MBA.
Okay. But thank you very much for everything. So there will be another business school series in from mid-March to mid-April. Okay. By then there will be more South Americans, because we are going to integrate more centers from South America, and probably China will join. So I'm very happy that you have accepted our invitation. It was very informative. Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you very much, Jess. Thank you very much, Mr. Oar, forgot his Corey, for joining us. Thank you. It was nice. Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone who's in the audience for
Thank you.
attending.
Thank you.